again. Welcome to the Manifest Live Life Golden podcast and YouTube show, and also the Golden Hour with Golden Duffy. Nice to be here today. Today we're talking about relationships. I figured today would be a great day to start to revisit the subject of relationships because relationships are so important. The way we relate to people, the different dynamics in our life with our relationships really matter. They really affect the way that we feel. They really affect the way that we manifest. And if you are plagued by something, or something's really on your mind and you're really worrying about it, or you're making up stories about people that aren't true, you're going to keep manifesting relationships that are not great. And the main component of that is the wounds that you have from your past, the way that you have not healed from the things, deep inside of you. So it's important to realize that. And then it's important to realize that everyone has those past wounds and things, especially if they haven't done any work on them. And we are here as triggering mechanisms for one another because we are co-creating on this journey to expand and grow together. So if you have a lot of strained relationships or a lot of stress in your relationships, you really have to start looking at yourself. You have to start asking questions like, why am I tolerating this? What is it about this person that makes me really want to have them in my life? Is there an even value of exchange here? Or am I just constantly giving and they're constantly taking? Or am I constantly taking and they're constantly giving? Like, what are the dynamics in the relationship? And really getting clear that when you start to raise your vibration, people will fall away. There's going to be people that you just don't connect with anymore. Or if you do connect with, they're trying to drag you back to your past to make you be your old self. I mean, this happens a lot when you give up alcohol or different addictions and your old friends are still doing those things. You shine a spotlight on those things for them that they're not ready or willing to change. So you may not be able to keep them. And if you do try to keep them and they are trying to drag you back, it's going to be this constant, battle of trying to stay your new self, trying to identify with that new self. So a lot of times a clearing needs to happen. And if you feel like that clearing has kind of happened organically, like, all of a sudden relationships ended and people are not hitting you up anymore. The reason for that is because your vibration is higher. Like, think about it. If you're vibing way up here, right? Like, you're in appreciation, you're in love, you're meditating every day, you're listening to this show, you're reminding yourself of all the great things that are manifesting, and you're really in this high vibrational flow, and you have friends or family members that are down here and they don't know or accept what you know, and they're not jiving with it, you're going to be almost on a different plane of a different playing field. Sometimes they'll go away. Sometimes they'll try to stay and get noisier, right? To try to attempt to try to get you back. But the reality is you're just not vibing. And if you can take that and know that, like, at the core of your being, we're just not a vibrational match, that one sentence has saved me from so much pain, so many stories that could have gone, right? Like, if you're somewhere and you see someone and they don't see you and you're like, oh, they pretended not to see me, right? Like, we make up this story, right? My daughter was doing it this morning. It was so interesting. And I knew the guy that she was talking about, and I know that this guy gets overwhelmed socially, and I know that sometimes he doesn't give me all the love that he normally does. So I just kind of I tried to show her that, like, it's not necessarily about you, it's more about him. But she's dealing with a situation and she feels like she's being judged by people. So of course she's going to attract that, right? She feels like people are judging her or giving her weird looks or weird energy. So it's, this is a wound for her to clear up for sure. And I'm working with her on that. So I actually got a question that sparked the idea of this show, and I wanted to just read it because I think it's so valuable to take this subject and really dissect it, really go deep with it, because I even do it myself. I found myself doing it recently, and I'll share that story in a second. Okay, how do we navigate when people feel we've done them wrong, especially when we feel we have not done anything wrong, like saying no to things, situations, or to an invite or to any kind of invite, really? How do we navigate this space kindly? So, first of all, when somebody invites you to do something, or you have to say no in some way, the best way to process that, to navigate that with another person. And it may not be clean, especially in the beginning, because if you were a yes person and you were a pleaser and now you're starting to pull away from that and you're not living obligations anymore, people are going to have a little bit of a hard time with that because they're used to being able to draw from your energy field. They're used to, you always saying yes to them. People don't like to be rejected. People don't like to be told no, and they want everybody to do what they're doing. And so, most people are only really thinking about themselves. And that's why it's so important to not take things personally, because it always really is about the other person. Unless you're feeling triggered by it, then it becomes about you. So when someone does that, your response to that is the most important thing. So say, somebody invites you to go out one night and you're like, oh no, I'm not able to do that. Usually we come up with like a laundry list of excuses, right? Which I have stopped doing, like making excuses. I mean, I'm still doing it in some ways. I just question myself here. I'm really working on not doing that, because I don't know why we feel like we need to apologize or make excuses to people when we are following our own guidance. So just saying no, nope, sorry, can't do that is enough. It's enough. When we start making a bunch of excuses, that's our guilt, right? Like that's our guilt playing in. That's I want them to like me, so I need to give them a good reason of why I can't do what they want me to do. So when you are invited to something and you want to say no, just say, I would love to, but I'm not able to, right? Then what happens next is the most important part, right? Because they're going to respond based on however they respond to you, their triggers of when they get rejected. Most of it doesn't really have anything to do with you. They're going to try to get you to do what they want you to do, right? So they're going to either get angry, they're going to beg, they're going to work on guilt, they're going to try to make you feel guilty. Your response to that is what determines what happens next. So if you release yourself from guilt and you release yourself from needing to be liked, it will blow over very quickly. I've done this. It's amazing. It really is. And if you say it unapologetically, you don't have to apologize. We don't have to be sorry all the time. It drives me crazy when people are sorry all the time. It really does. Stop apologizing for being here. Stop apologizing for doing what is good for you. It's a silly, silly way to be. It really is. We've got to release ourselves from apologizing for living our life in truth, right? Living our life to our own truth. So when you let go of the guilt, you release yourself and work on, it may not be easy at first, not telling yourself a story. Like no matter what their response is, just trust that everything is going to work out for you. See, many times we say yes to things because we want to alleviate drama, right? We don't want confrontation, we don't want drama, we don't want to deal with the person, right? We don't want to deal with them getting upset with us or manipulating us. Fine, we'll just do it, right? But at the end of the day, that just lends to more resentment and more frustration and more angst in your relationship. And eventually you don't want to do anything for this person because you've completely tapped yourself out. So the best thing you can do is say no when you want to say no, and don't apologize. If it's no, it's no. Like when you say no, this is such an important thing for mothers. My daughter is having a challenge with my granddaughter sleeping in her own bed. And I did not say I told you so. I promise. I may think it, but I don't say it. But the bottom line is now she's almost 8 years old. My daughter is in a relationship now, and it's going to be awkward. So I said, she said she came into my room 6 times and I finally let her in the bed. And I was like, "Well, then you just took those 6 times and flushed them down the toilet. Like, if you're gonna say no, you have to stand by your no, or your children will know that they can work on you and they will continue to work on you." Whenever my kids asked me for something and I said no, I would stick to it. This is when my younger 2 were growing up. My older 2, I was still trying to figure it out, but my younger 2, I just remember thinking that if they beg and they plead and they work to manipulate me through guilt, then I am teaching them a terrible lesson. I'm teaching them that those tactics work, and then they'll take that into life instead of teaching them that happiness, joy, appreciation, and being a sweet and kind person gets you, more in life. Not necessarily what you want at the moment, but it will get you more of the positive energy in your life. That's what I love to teach kids, and parents, because if we're rewarding kids for their manipulation, and we're providing the world with adults, that kids that grow up into adulthood thinking that they can manipulate and make people feel guilty. If you have a parent, I'm thinking mothers because that tends to be, but it could be fathers as well, that plays on your guilt and tries to manipulate you through guilt, it's time to have a conversation about that. It really is, because it's really a negative, super negative way to get love. And it really doesn't help you to get deeper in your relationship with somebody. It actually makes you pull away from them. So it's good. It's good to have conversations about that. Like, I don't really want to feel guilty anymore. And I don't want you to get me to do things through guilt, right? So the stories that we tell about people are really interesting. So we had a situation, and it was someone that my daughter is working for and really loves and really respects. And as far as I can tell, he's a really wonderful person. He's extremely loving, and he kind of takes on children that are kind of lost in the world, like late teens, early adults. And he had been working with this girl, and something happened, and the whole relationship fell apart, and now she's kind of spreading terrible rumors about him. And my daughter is really upset because she's working with this guy, she's aligned with this guy, she really believes in him, she doesn't feel any weird energy from him. And we talked about the fact that this girl has been triggered and wounds and things like that, and that's what's causing her to do this, but also that there's a lesson in this for this man, for something. Like, there's something that he needs to grow from or listen to, or something that he needs to do in order to not manifest this type of energy, right? And my daughter, she feels like she needs to be protective of him, but I said, I said to her, I said, "This really doesn't have anything to do with you." And she said, "It does," right? Like, she's making it about her. And the fact of the matter is, now she feels like people are looking at her because of the rumors and it's just a story. Like, it's all a story. So we have to really watch what we're doing, because if we feel like we're upsetting people, and if we feel like people are talking behind our back, the best thing we can do is clean up our energy about it, right? Like, send better energy to it, clean up the story about it. Like, that is not true. I had a funny situation the other day, and it was like really small, and it only lasted for like minutes, but I went, wow, okay. So I go to school with a couple of friends, and there was one in particular, and we've gotten really close, and we've done our projects together, and we do our field trips together. And I really, really like her. I think we're going to go on and do more school together. But she had a remodeling job, and she had a company that she was working with, but they didn't have her sign a contract. And she said, "Maybe your husband should take a look at this." And I was like, "Yeah, it might be a good idea for him to make sure that, they've given you a good price, and that they've included everything, and like, you're not going to get screwed." And she's like, "Well, maybe I want him to do it." And I was like, "Yeah, that would be cool. Like, I would love to be able to bring a big project to our MDC construction plate." And we were supposed to go look at it. And the whole time I was like having this like angst about it. Like, I don't want to steal work from people. That's not what we're about whatsoever. But then I had, the justification of, they didn't sign a contract. And why are they not having her sign a contract? Like, that's bad business, right? So she ended up canceling on us to come and look at the job. And she felt really bad about it. And I was like, oh my goodness, no, I was having the same kind of, energy about it. I was feeling bad as well. So, like a week or two goes by and I see her at school and she just seems like really frazzled and busy and whatever. And she's just like she's not really talking to me much. And so then I start to make up a story, right? And I'm like, is she like, so I text her and ask her if she wants to go to one of the design centers with me the following week. And couple hours goes by and she doesn't text me back. And she usually does text me right away. So then I start wondering, like, did something happen? Did she like make a judgment about me because of that whole thing? Like now are things tainted? Are they weird? And I start making up this story, like she doesn't like me anymore. And I started to tell my daughter about it. And while I was telling her, I was on the phone. I got a text message from this woman and she was like, I would love to go. Absolutely. And everything's fine. And I was like, wow, it's so easy to go down the rabbit hole with people. It's so easy to tell yourself a story about how you were not liked or how you did something wrong, and that anxiety, that stress, that anxiety that you feel when you make up these crazy stories is a terrible signal to be putting out. It really is. It really messes with your vibe. It sends the wrong signal to relationships. And it's really worth taking a look at and cleaning up so that you can be on a higher vibration with relationships and what you think. If you think, oh, there goes my light, that's actually better. I think that light was too bright. Okay, we're going to leave it out. um, if you are making up stories about people, and if you are thinking the worst, I have a couple of people in my life that do this, and they think the worst, right? And it's normal. That's kind of a human condition. We were having a conversation last night about the human condition to be drawn to drama, right? Like we want the deets, spill the tea. We want to know what's going on, right? Not good, but it's just part of like what we've been conditioned. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember, and I don't know if this actually happened to you, but I remember my mother and my grandmother and my aunts, like all just sitting around and gossiping, right? Just gossiping about people, giving all the information about people, all the, it was never positive. It was always negative. And my husband was like, we were talking last night about it, and he's like, I wonder like what that is, what draws people to that negativity and draws your mind to think the worst, right? Like this is a learned program that we have to deprogram ourselves to. So if you find yourself, and this has happened to me, I actually quit. We're doing dry July with social media, and I'm not off of social media because I do my posts, but I am taking a break from scrolling, like the doom scroll, right? Where you're just in these reels and an hour goes by. And I've gotten a lot of my life back from not doing that anymore. And my husband as well. We've been talking more, going to bed earlier, all the things that was like distracting us from. And I asked him yesterday if he misses it because he took it off his phone. I am not going to do that because of my posts every day. It's just easier for me to have it on my phone. And I want to engage with people. It's part of what I'm doing. And he took it off his phone and I said, do you miss it? And he said, no, he doesn't miss it at all. I'm like, it was such a waste of time. Like we just realized what a time sucker it was. So if you're doing that and you're on a lot of reels and stuff, it's great because you think you're being entertained. So I would go on and what some of the things like the Blake Lively thing, I was like checking out. I used to really like her. I just thought she was a brilliant actress, and I think she's really beautiful. And uh, I just would get sucked into that story. And it's so stupid and it's such a waste of time. It's like ridiculous. Or if you're like into the P. Diddy thing, like I have a friend who is an attorney and she's like, yeah, I'm really into the trials right now, like whoever's on trial. And I was like, wow, that is like, I mean, I get it. She's an attorney, so it's interesting to her, but I'm like, that's an interesting frequency for us to tune into, other people's dramas and kind of, in a way, I think it's kind of like celebrating when people go down, when people who are like super wealthy or, maybe they've been not the nicest person and you're seeing, the karma of that, maybe it makes us feel a little good. I don't know what that is, but it's ridiculous and we need to stop because we need to deprogram this need for drama and gossip and all of that and just get away from it because it's really negative energy. Because what happens when you say something about someone or even think something about someone, you are sending an energetic signal to them that can be felt, right? So if you think that people don't know how you really feel, they can feel it because energy can be felt. So look at that. Like, look at the energy, look at the signal that you're sending to people. Because if you're having a hard time in relationships and you think that you're being phony baloney and everybody should think that you're good, it doesn't mean that you need to walk around telling everybody exactly how you feel. That might be a battlefield and not worth it. But it does lend to your boundaries and potentially even having, you know, asking for what you need or asking for what you want or discussing how you feel with people to help navigate some change. If you think that people know, that they're doing something that is bothering you and they don't care, that's just another story that doesn't really lend. So look at the stories you're making up. Always be aware when you're making assumptions, right? I love the assumptions make an ass out of you and me. Like, making assumptions is definitely on the war path. Like, it's normally not the best case scenarios. It's the worst case scenarios of what you're thinking about. And it always puts other people in a really bad light, right? Or yourself in a really bad light in concerning them. We can feel energy. We know when people start to pull away. We know when somebody's turned off or when somebody stops liking us for whatever reason. But it doesn't mean that we got to look at that. We got to look at why that is, like why that's happening. Is it a wound? Do you have these playground wounds or do you have these bully wounds that nobody likes me, everybody hates me, right? Do you have that going on deep within? Because, that's a call for self-love. That's a call for cleaning up what you really feel about yourself and what you really think about yourself, because people are just going to reflect that. I have an awesome self-love meditation on my YouTube channel. While you're over there, like and subscribe. That would really help me. But on that YouTube channel, I've got a bunch of guided meditations. Just look up when you're on my channel, just look for guided meditations. There's a bunch on there that are really good. But the self-love one in particular is about coming back to self. It's about coming back to the truth of who you are before, your parents told you or something, or you dealt with a bunch of elementary or middle school or high school wounds that made you believe something different about yourself. When you were a child, you were pure, you were loved, you were expressive, you were brilliant, you had this super bright light. So when you started to like shadow that, when you started to downplay that, when you started to dim your light, what was going on? Because those, no matter what, like those things are down deep inside of you. My daughter this morning told me that a girl came to her booth yesterday. She's working at the Sawdust, and which is a really cool little art thing that locals put on summer and winter, and it's so super fun. And the ground is all like wood chips, and it's just local, really amazing artwork and pottery and just live music and food, and it's really fun. But she saw this girl and they were kind of connecting, and she noticed the girl had cuts on her arm, and my daughter also has scars from that. And we were kind of joking around about it, like going, hey, twinsies, like trying to make light of it. And she said it was interesting because I reached out to her about it and I acknowledged it. And I said, I really commend you for your bravery and your courage. And they had a great conversation, but my daughter said she started to get like really teary and her body started to shake. And I said, that energy is still in you. Because she goes, yeah, because I've kind of buried it. And I said, yeah, you can only bury things for so long. and then something's going to trigger it, and then you have to deal with it, and your physical body, like that parasympathetic nervous system, still has it stored, right? Like your chakras still store this stuff. So it's good to process it. It's good to talk about it. It's good to write about it. It's good to be vulnerable about it with the right people and allow that energy to come out. Even just journaling by yourself and meditating on it, and going back to maybe even that age that you were at when those really damaging things were happening, and those horrible beliefs that you had, that you just had to cut yourself to feel something. I mean, I definitely remember doing that as a kid. It wasn't like what these kids have done, but I definitely carved things in my arm, and I just remember feeling really, really, really sad, just really depressed, and really just down. If you revisit places like that from a place of transformation and alchemy, where you're journaling it out and you're connecting with that wound, you will process it. This isn't about therapy and like talking about it and reliving it and all of that. It's about going in, processing it so it leaves you. And really, it's only helpful to process it if it's really coming up for you. I don't think it's necessary to go digging around. We got enough to deal with in this life, in this time, in this present moment. We have enough to deal with. We don't have to go looking for things. I think that might be my challenge with therapy sometimes, is that digging around is I don't think it's very helpful. I think it can get you back into the vibration of that, especially if you're not working with somebody who knows how to help you process it out. If they just kind of talk about it and you get stuck in it, then I would definitely look for a new therapist. That is not a good idea. I've been there. And they wanted to actually put me on medication, and which I find is hilarious. Not hilarious. At the time, I probably really seemed like I needed medication, but it was really just a matter of helping me process and move the energy. And I did find someone, and that's why I'm saying, if it's not working for you, look for someone else. I found someone different who helped me move energy. She was more of like a shaman, and also a licensed therapist, but really, really helped me release the stuff that I needed to. So if you feel like you're getting stuck and you feel like you're talking about the same thing week after week, I'd look for somebody else, because then you're just vibing with it. Okay. So let's stop telling ourselves stories about people, right? Let's stop feeling so unlikable and in so much fear that people are not going to like us, that we're going to do something that's so terrible that we're not going to be liked. That probably came from a wound of your childhood, or a belief that you're not worthy. Digging down into that is a really, really valuable thing to do for yourself. Okay, I'm going to do some Russian roulette with the books. I don't know that I'm going to do these hour-long shows anymore. Looking at my stats, I shared last week that I left E360, so I don't have to do these 56-minute shows anymore. But looking at my stats, most people are, and they may come back to it, so I don't know if that plays into this, but it's like 20 minutes. Like, that's the listening average, is 20 minutes. So here I am, going off for 56 minutes. And honestly, most shows, it's really easy for me to do that, because once I get on a track, I'm like, things are being downloaded and they're coming through me. So I'm not saying that it's a strain, but I don't have to be married to this 56 minutes. So we might not. All right. The perfect unfolding for the expansion of your soul. I'm going to put up the QR code on the left-hand screen. If you haven't read this yet, it's really a powerful book. A lot of spiritual messages in here. And it's a beautiful book. This is actually a really nice gift for someone. A lot of messages that came through my dreams. And this book came out really, really fast. It looks really good with my artwork in the back. All right, let's see what we got. 2 pages. That was crazy. Okay. Oh, wow. I don't know why this is coming up. Let me see. There was I'm just going to read it because it's for somebody. There was a gentleman in front of us who was extremely overweight. So I'm talking about a concert that we went to and some things that I observed. He had so much trouble walking up the stairs and he barely fit in the chair. He seemed uncomfortable throughout the night because he squeezed himself into this tiny seat. I'm sure he bought two seats because there was no way someone could sit next to him. I felt some sadness for this man as he has imprisoned himself by his addiction to food. So many people at the concert were struggling with the stairs and not living in their best bodies. It made me think more about who I want to be as I progress here. Living our best life here has a lot to do with how we treat ourselves and what we decide to ingest. If you genuinely respect your body, mind, and well being, you will be more mindful of what you take part in. Now, I'm not saying anyone has to be perfect. Just be more mindful about what you are participating in and how it affects you in the long run. And if you do take part in it, suspend your habit of beating yourself up if that's what you're doing. Instead, learn from it. If it's not what you want to be doing, take your power back and decide to do things differently next time. Make pacts with yourself that stay true to who you say you want to be. Keep promises to yourself and then act from who you want to be instead of who you want to let go of. Pretty good, pretty good. So I think that could even go along with the conversation that we're talking about because it's about identifying with the habits and behaviors that really are going to help you to up level. You know, the habits and behaviors of being in appreciation, about thinking about the best of people, eating great, beautiful, natural food. That's such a positive signal that you send to yourself when you do that. When you eat like really bad food, like really toxic food, like just tons of sugar and tons of junk food, we have recently done it even more of a clearing in our house of like all the seed oils and just all of like the munchy, crunchy, crappy foods that like you just have this addictive quality. We've cleaned those out of our house. So now we reach for fruit, we reach for nuts. You know, we're not in this constant drive of like sugar. The sugar addiction goes beyond sugar. It even goes to like the chips and crackers and all the processed foods that have these addictive substances in them that cause you to crave them and don't fill you up. They actually make you hungrier. So it's really good to look at what you're ingesting in your, food, in your beverages, in your TV, in your computer, on your phone. What are you ingesting? Because that actually sends a very, very strong signal to give you more of that. So if you're eating your feelings, if you're addicted to food, if you're addicted to alcohol, all those things can be managed. All those things can be taken care of by being more aware, working with a program or something that can help you get away from it, and understanding that all of these things are extremely addictive. So it's not that you've done anything wrong. You've actually done exactly what was designed. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's see what Mindful Manifestation Secrets has to say. The only book I don't have here is my journal. Here's the QR code for this one. My journal's not here, but I will put the QR code up for that one because that one's hard to find. Okay, let's see what we got. Allowing in resistance. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like these books, it's amazing. Paying attention to how you feel is of the utmost importance when you are working with energetic alignment. If you are feeling stressed, frenetic, and desperate, it is a clear sign that you are not working in the co-creative partnership you have access to with the universe. We have been brought up with the social programming that if it's to be, it's up to me. With that attitude, we block all of the universal support that is trying to come to us. When we relax, quiet our minds, and get back into alignment with universal forces, we connect with the ease and flow of how life really works. If you are currently involved with something that feels very difficult, it is because you have not engaged with the flow of the universal support, or you are trying to make something happen that is not in your highest and best interest. This happens when you get too attached to certain outcomes and block yourself off from miracles. We introduce resistance every time we don't trust or expect that things are working out for us. Divine energy would like to deliver something that is even better than we are allowing. When we are acting out of desperation or trying really hard to make something happen, we are creating all sorts of energetic waves that go against the ease and flow of the natural order. Life is not supposed to be hard. Life is here to create joy. And when we are in tune with the ease and flow, joy is much more easily accessed. The interesting thing about that came up was the desperation in relationships, how we feel about relationships. And I'm going to put the journal up on the left-hand screen. If you're looking for a really beautiful journal, it has 100 pages of content of living your best life, like a daily guide. And then there's a whole bunch of writing prompts and blank pages in there. When you're dealing with desperation and like chasing people, like you can feel that, right? Well, guess what? They can feel it too. And when you're chasing, things run from you. And that is true about people. That is true about manifesting. That's true about anything. When you are trying really, really hard to make something happen, you are chasing it and you're screwing with the energy field because you're putting too much like dense energy out there that doesn't allow for the ease and flow. It's almost like resistant energy when it's like sticky like that. So if you were just to like take your foot off the gas, like just pull back a little bit, you would actually get yourself more in receiving mode. You would feel better, and then you would be at a higher vibration, and then what you want can manifest, or that person may actually reach out to you instead of you chasing them. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I want to reiterate this because it's really and it's a good reminder. And I know that my husband and I forget this often. It's when you're working so hard at something and you just feel like you constantly have to work because you want to put so much focus and determination on something, right? Like when you have this big goal and you're just like, I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that that happens. And I'm not going to have any fun, and I'm going to be really serious, and I'm going to work all the time. Now, this is obviously probably an unconscious thing that happens with people who are like workaholics or type A personalities, drivers, they call them in our world. When you do that, you often end up getting sick. And I was talking to a gentleman the other day at the coffee machine, and he was telling me that he got sick for 4th of July weekend. And I told him that we just like relaxed all weekend. We literally didn't go to the office. We just chilled. We laid around. We read. Uh, and it was great. And he said, yeah, I've been working really hard. And I said, I know, us too. And he goes, that's probably why I got sick. And I said, it probably is. And I said, I've noticed whenever we like take our foot off the gas and like go for a hike or do something we really enjoy, go to the beach, we always manifest work because we're in the receiving mode. But if you're chasing it, if you're desperate, if you're working too hard, it's almost like when you're in that really serious pushing vibration, you're down here and the good stuff is up here. So you're going to miss it. It's not going to be as easy. Like it may still work. I'm not going to say like setting goals and being determined and working hard doesn't work. It absolutely does work. It just sucks. It sucks along the way. So if you really want to have fun in life, if you want to let go, if you want to chill out a little more, you're actually going to put yourself in the receiving mode. And the receiving mode is where it's all at. It's the same mode as what happens when you meditate. When you just like quiet your mind, you're putting yourself in the best receiving mode there is. Receiving for messages, receiving for inspirations, receiving for just a higher vibration in general, and a connection and a relationship with your higher state of consciousness. That is always going to serve you. All right, I think I'm going to close the show. I think it feels good to me to not do an hour-long show. And if you're really bummed out about that, you can email me and I will, I will consider that because I don't have I have engagement, but not enough to be like, oh yeah, everybody wants me to do an hour-long show. So it'd be good to know that. And if you feel that way, then we can keep going to 56 minutes. But if this is good, if this is cool, if you feel like, all right, good, I got my show in. I don't want to, my intention was never to overwhelm people with too much information in one sitting either. being a part of E360, I had to stick to my show time, which was 56 minutes. And now I'm feeling a little bit, more flexible and a little more freedom in not needing to have that amount of content put out at that one particular time. But I'm open to suggestions because I can definitely rattle for 56 minutes if you really need me to. But again, I'm not getting paid for this, so I can do what I want, right? All right, you guys. That is all for my show. Oh, I did not put up, let's see. Here is my YouTube link on the left hand. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so there's my YouTube link. If you want to watch the show on YouTube, if you are bummed out that I left E360 and you still want to watch the show on a video, although Spotify does video too, which I just learned, but YouTube is a great place to be able to see the show on video. And then there it is on the left-hand screen. If you just put your phone camera over that, it will give you the link and it'll take you right to my Manifest Live Life Golden channel. And then my Spotify is right here. I actually have to do last week's show on Spotify. That's not up yet, but it will be. And then the other, I wasn't able to put my my link for Venmo. So just talking about Venmo, it's awesome if you want to exchange energy. If you've been here for a while, if you've been listening for a while, or if a show really does like spark something for you and create great change, it would be awesome to just send a donation to my situation here. And it's at Golden Duffy, and it's GOLDYN Duffy at Venmo. That is all for me today, but I love y'all. Peace out.